Hello and welcome, dear listeners, to another transformative episode of the Harmony Blueprint Disrupting the Grind. I'm your host, Tina Jett, transformational life coach and mindset trainer, dedicated to guiding you through the intricate journey of personal growth and harnessing the power of a resilient mindset. Today, we are diving deep into the world of mindset and personal growth. You know, in our fast-paced lives, it's all too easy to become overwhelmed by the challenges, the doubts, that are self-imposed with our limitations that we come up with. But fear not, because I've invited a very special guest today who not only understands the transformative potential of mindset, but is also an expert at helping individuals like you unlock their full potential and embrace personal growth. Today, I'm interviewing Heather Everett. Heather is a mindfulness mindset coach and licensed workshop facilitator, and she has a passion for storytelling. She believes we are the hero of our own story. She works one-on-one with clients and hosts workshops, and her goal is so aligned with mine. That's why I had to have her on the show. She too helps her clients honor, embrace, and respect their own truth so they can create fulfillment in all areas of their life. So let's give a warm welcome to our special guest today, Heather. Heather, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the Harmony Blueprint Disrupting the Grind. How are you today?
I'm doing well, and thank you so much for having me, Tina. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited when you said yes. So fantastic. I am truly excited to just dive right into our discussion. I know Heather, of course, I've known you for a while, so I know a lot about you, but of course our listeners don't. And I know you have a passion for storytelling, and your belief is that we are heroes in our own stories. And I love that because it aligns perfectly with the mission of this podcast to empower individuals to embrace their authentic selves and create fulfillment.
Yes. And I do. Well, storytelling has been something that I've done since I was a little girl. I love writing. I love reading. And as I continued to go through my own professional journey, I was a storyteller for many years for a company, right? And so I would talk about brands, and I would, tell stories about how a brand was born or what it meant or any of these things. And, we always talked about brands as heroes. And I'm thinking, as I coach and as I transitioned to be a full-time coach, I just was like, we are the heroes of our story. We always are looking outwardly at others to be inspired by, but we can inspire ourselves. And when we look at what we've gone through as in the different phases of our lives and the different chapters of our lives, it's really about just honoring those things. And as you mentioned, and just embracing who we are, respecting ourselves in a way that we talk kindly to ourselves, we trust ourselves, and then really owning our truth so that it's nothing to be ashamed of. It is who we are. And in fact, it is the essence of our light that we put out into the world. So I'm very passionate about talking to people and helping people tell their own stories.
Oh, I love that. And indeed, that passion, and me coming from the corporate world as well, I'm a big promoter on teamwork, because I would see a lot of places, within my career where everybody's doing something different, but the teamwork wasn't there. Now, I know that you, of course, do one-on-one coaching, and you host workshops. Can you tell me a little bit more about the workshops? Do you do anything that talks about like teamwork? And
Absolutely. And you bring up a great point, because, one of the struggles that we have sometimes is that we look at other people in our team as competition. And the best thing, especially in the corporate world, is it's almost positioned to jockey you to be like, look at that other person as somebody to be against versus for. And so a lot of the things that I do is really talking in the workshops and even on one-on-one experiences is being able to have the empathy for yourself and for others to be able to go, wow, look at this person and the gifts that they bring to our team. And yes, they're different than mine. And instead of being judgmental of myself or them to think that, there's a competition, they're like, oh, I need to be better at them than this. Instead, look at them as like, gosh, they have this amazing gift. They're so good at this. And it's not my strength, but I know that if I combine my strength and their strength, then together this team is unstoppable.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's a mission that resonates deeply within me so much, and I'm sure our listeners too, because it takes a tribe, and
Mm,
everybody has different unique qualities that they can bring to the team, and I remember years ago, a manager telling me, like, when you're interviewing somebody or you're working with somebody, that could be the person that, yes, takes your role one day. You want somebody that could have that position so then too can then move up, right?
mhm.
So you don't want it to be a competition. So I love that. I would love to kind of dive in a little bit deeper and just kind of explore some aspects of mindset and personal growth. And it's the power of embracing our own stories. So before we dive into that, can you just share a little bit more about your personal journey and what led you to become a mindset coach?
Absolutely. Thing that really happened was my own rock bottom, so to speak. It was kind of the gift of the pandemic, quite honestly. I had just been kind of burning the candle at both ends. I'm a single mom of two. And so working really hard to kind of pay the bills and do all this stuff. And I was finding myself just really burnt out all the time. And what I found for myself was I first wanted to heal myself. Like, why is it that I continue to repeat these patterns over and over and over again? Like, my life is like on a constant repeat and I'm just tired of it. And so, by taking a step back for myself, I realized that I had no boundaries. I had a mindset of like things happening to me instead of me making things happen. And I realized that it could start with something very small. And for me, it started with essentially creating my own calendar and giving myself time to just take care of myself. And the pandemic was such a gift in that because we were working from home, right? And so I was able to kind of say, okay, great. I'm going to have these couple hour blocks in my day put to like me just getting away from my computer, walking around, doing something so that I could start connecting to myself. And the more and more I started doing that, one, other people started to notice how I was showing up differently in the office with them, how I was having more patience. I was more present. I was more positive with them. I was more encouraging because I had more energy in my tank to give. So then people started going, what are you doing? How is this happening? And it was like, yeah, this thing where I just started mentoring other people within the company. Here's what I did. Here's how, this is what I shifted. And really, it started with that mindset of I'm important. And if I'm going to be the hero of my story, then how is that going to be a step in that direction that I want to go? And how am I always going to show myself that I'm being the hero for myself?
Oh, I love that. That's incredible, Heather. Your journey really is a testament to the transformative power of embracing our own stories, right? And then evolving from within, getting into that present moment where peace lives. I talk about that a lot. And I love your approach. I love these insights. I know that you do have a strong focus on storytelling and the idea that we are the heroes within our own stories.
Mhm.
So how do you see this concept impacting personal and professional growth?
Well, I think I've just experienced it so much for myself in the sense of what happened is when I took the language and put it into, because as I mentioned earlier, like storytelling has just been a part of who I am. And when I actually put my own story into the context of an actual story, I didn't look at it as anything else, but I was like, wow, look at all these different chapters that I've lived and experienced and how I can actually choose my next chapter and I can continue to make it more of a your own adventure. And so once I started kind of looking at it from that perspective, I was able to also help clients and others, just look at themselves in that same way. And the thing is a great example is me having 8 different bosses at my old company. And every single time I would find this way to like butt heads with them. And I'm Italian and I like to say what I like, what I mean. I had no problems doing that. But I was constantly in conflict with them. And I realized when I took a step back, like, what's the common denominator here? Oh, it's me and how I'm showing up. I've had 8 different bosses, but I've had 8 of the same experiences. So if this experience is going to change, I have to change. And so as soon as I started making that shift, I became really good friends with the CEO. I started looking at things just from a completely different perspective. And it was like all the lights just started turning on around me. And that really started to impact everything from how my stories shifted. It was literally like in a hero's journey. You have this struggle, you struggle. And then all of a sudden there's this big, oh yes, aha.
The light bulb moment. I love that.
Right? That was it. It was like, oh, when I change and I center myself and I come into a space differently, then the interaction I have with people is different. And so it's still to this day one of the biggest pivots of my.
Yeah, that is a huge pivot. I love that. Now, quick question. So you work with clients. What are the common mindset challenges that you encounter? Do you find that you're encountering the same ones? Are they different? And how do you help your clients overcome these challenges?
I think the main thing that I see, and I work with both men and women, is that there's two different things. For women, it's a lot of not believing in themselves. And for men, it's a lot of, I've built this identity around this certain thing, right? And so women have also an identity crisis, but theirs is like, I'm supposed to be the person in the background. And men are like, well, I'm supposed to be the hero of every story, not just my own, right? And so it's like finding that balance where you're like just being okay with either stepping into what is yours. For women, a lot of times it's like, just go ahead and step into the boardroom. And that idea that you have in your head, speak it. Say the things, start building proofs of evidence of how much you are actually the hero of your story. And for the men I've worked with, it's a little bit of like, but if you have all of these different qualities that are super awesome and you think that you always have to be, what would happen if you just were for just a little bit and just accepted these qualities as not needing a title to support them, right? It's just who you are innately. And for men, it's a foreign concept. But for women, it's a foreign concept. But what's really cool is when they both make those shifts, those pivots, and they start showing themselves how they can just be the consistent hero of their story. And they're not trying to do it for promotion, and they're not trying to do it for an accolade, and they're not trying to do it for anything else other than for themselves. It's like, that's when they're like, oh my God, I had the best week and can't wait to tell you about it. So
I love that. That's so true, and it is. And I notice that different men and women too. I notice the exact same thing. So we're obviously, onto something here, right? With what we're talking about. So in your coaching, or I know you do workshops as well, is there a specific success story that stands out to you?
Actually, I have a client that she's always such a great champion for so many others. And what was fantastic, and I love her story, was she got into a new company. She was basically asked to kind of create this role. She didn't really know how to do what she was doing, but she did it anyway. And as she walked through it, she was like working with me to get the recognition within the company, both financially and from a title, to ask for what she felt she deserved. And not only did she do that, but she really did it in a way that set herself up to become where they can see her as being this higher level position, because she worked to kind of say, here's what I've done so far, and here's what I'm going to continue to do, and here's where I'm going. But also not just the work for her. It was like, and this is who I am, which was the bigger thing, and the thing that kind of really had them all appreciate, like, this is what I bring because I am who I am. And
I love that.
I know. And it's like, it gives me the chills to this day. I still get it because I was just so proud of her and how she stood up for herself.
Yeah, and I love it because everybody has individual uniqueness, right? And they all have something to bring to the table. So if everybody's able to bring that, like, imagine how successful the team's going to be, how successful the department's going to be, the company, whatever it is, because everybody's bringing their uniqueness, and they're owning it.
And actually embracing that uniqueness. And that, to your point about teams, right? It's the idea of like, oh, look, Tina has these 5 qualities and Heather has these 5 qualities. And this is how all of these qualities can work together to create something like we can all look and appreciate each other for that beautiful uniqueness and say, God, if we didn't have Tina on our team, we would be so less shiny and bright. Right. And it's like just recognizing and owning that. And being able to cheer each other on, like, you're doing such a great job, and seeing and being like, I love Tina for her confidence and for her kindness and her empathy. And those are such great gifts to bring to our team. And she has made our team more kind, more empathetic, and more confident. Right? That's it right there.
I love that. I love that. And it's just really about, embracing one's truth, and what they can bring to the table, right? In the workflow. Can you explain the significance on that? On just embracing your truth and just showing up in the moment, right? In the day. We shouldn't have to show up Monday morning and say, oh my gosh, it's Monday. Or is it Friday yet? Or it's Wednesday. We made it halfway through, right? And so I think really embracing one's truth, is very essential to that. Do you want to just dive into like the significance of that and how it relates to personal fulfillment?
Absolutely. It's really, to your point, Tina, it's like the foundation. When you embrace your truth, you're not going to compromise. You're going to say to yourself, is this lighting me up? And if it isn't lighting me up, then what is it? Is it something that I need to shift, or is it something that needs to shift around me? And so it's literally like, working at my former company, for instance, there was moments where I was super not shiny, not owning my truth, and having moments where I just wanted to point fingers at everything else around me. Like, this is all because of all of this. But it was when I turned the lens around and I said, but why am I struggling here? And what are the things that I can do? And it was when I started going, well, I need these things. And these are certain things. So then I started inserting more of that, or asking for more of those things. So same company, but I had a completely different experience because I started doing it. And I no longer went, oh, it's Monday, or can't wait till Friday, or doing any of these things. Because for me, it was like every day I get to show up for me, and there's going to be a gift in every moment. There's going to be something that I'm going to learn, whether I know it right now or I won't, but I'm going to be me all day. And I'm not going to apologize for her anymore. And I think what that is it's also like, and I'm not going to join the crowd of, oh, this sucks, right? I'm no longer going to do that because I'm not trying to fit in anymore. I'm just being me as much as I can. And when we embrace our truth, we do it boldly and confidently because we know it's ours. And we're saying, and every time we say yes to ourselves, we can just feel it throughout our entire bodies.
Oh, I agree. And I love that. So what would you say are some practical tips, or maybe some exercises that individuals that are listening to our show today can start embracing and owning their own truths in their lives?
Oh gosh, there's so many, but I'll start with three that I know are like the main for me. And the first one is always taking a step back. Like, just, you're in the minute of something, somebody says something, and maybe you just want to shoot something out or do something, like, just take a moment, take a breath, and give yourself a beat and be like, what is actually happening here? And seeing, is this an action that is your reaction coming from a past experience or coming from a future worry? And if not, then just be able to say, okay, here it is. And you don't have to answer right away. Say, thank you so much for the information or for the feedback.
Right.
And give yourself that step back that you really need. Let me get back to you in an hour or whatever it is. And then you can give yourself that time. It's okay to ask for time. The second is, like, when you get that time, be quiet and be still and use whatever you want that to look like for you. If that's meditation, if that's, listening to some music, if that is going for a walk, just give yourself some time to move the energy through your body so that you can really understand it. And then number 3 is write it out. Put it down on paper, journal, do something, whatever it is, like, create your story. This is the story I'm telling myself about this situation. Just write it down and just say, these are the cast of characters and all this stuff. And then realize, like, okay, I've created quite an elaborate tale about this one thing, and especially if it's on a bigger scale, then it allows you to kind of come back from a place of neutrality. Being neutral is the key, because it's not like you're being passive, but it allows you to tap into what's true for you, so that then you can come back and say, okay, Tina, I hear you on this. And what I like about that is, and I would also like to say that I think we need more time for this, this, and this, and whatever that is. But then it comes from a place of, not overreaction,
Right.
but just complete and understanding.
Yeah, because it's so quick, everybody's deadlines and trying to get all this done and stressed out, home life too, having that balance. And I love that. Just stop and take a moment. I do the same thing with my clients. And when I teach my workshops as well, and I just tell everybody, yeah, take 5. Or I'll do, which I'm sure you're familiar with, put it in the basket. I train my teams when I work with them in corporate that we just put it in the basket, which means we're going to address it, but we're going to give it a little bit of time, but no longer than 24 hours. And then we're going to come back after everybody's had a moment, and then we're going to say, okay, let's take it out of the basket. Let's talk about it. What is the best solution here? I remember working in corporate. My goal was to make my company money. I was in sales, and that was my goal, and everybody's goal, regardless it was the person delivering the product, producing the product, me selling the product, doesn't matter. We're all together. So when people get overwhelmed, again, taking that minute, just read kind of 5, or I love the putting it in the baskets as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I think to your point, to elaborate a little bit on that, like you're in sales and somebody else is in marketing, somebody else is in production, right? And all these different interests that go on. But ultimately, you're right, you have the ultimate shared interest. And sometimes you need that step back to recognize, one, what is our shared interest? And also, what other information may they need to understand so that there can be more empathy in this conversation? What do I need to have more empathy for Tina, who's trying to sell this product? Hey, Tina, what are the objections that you're hearing in the market right now? And then you're going to tell me, oh, I'm hearing this, this, and this. And I'm going to say, oh, okay, I didn't even think about that. Let me go and have the conversation with production and let me find out what their sticking points are, right? And so it's like being able to come in from a place of empathy doesn't come the instant reaction sometimes because our blood boils and we get into this headspace of like, I have to be right. And the answer is, no, you don't. You don't have to.
No, you're absolutely 100%. I mean, that's a beautifully said. Yes, everybody's doing a different role. You said marketing, sales, whatever it is, but we all have the same goal.
Right.
So let's work towards that goal because everybody has strengths from whatever department they're in, and we're trying to get to that goal. So well said. So I think mindset often considered the secret sauce. My listeners know I talk about the secret sauce all the time. The secret sauce to success, I think, is mindset. So I would love to hear what you have to say if you could just kind of elaborate on the role of mindset in achieving not just professional goals, but personal goals as well.
Well, to you, your point in mindset is everything, right? It is the grind mindset. You can have it as everything is a grind. Everything is pushing a boulder up a hill. Or the I get to mindset, right? I get to do this. I mean, just think about how the language of that is like, I have to versus I get to. I have to do this. I have to take the kids to school. I have to do this. I have to go to this meeting. I have to. Versus I get to take my daughter to school and talk to her the whole time about what's going on in that 20-minute car ride that we have. I get to go to this meeting and see Tina today, and I'm super excited about that because I know she went to Africa last month, and I just can't wait to hear about it. Like there's all of these things like we get to, like that mindset shift, that simple mindset shift of have to get to, it just changes everything for you. And then also it's like, well, if it feels like a have to, then what's your truth, right? It goes back again to your truth. Well, is it really a have to, or is it a simple mindset shift? Or is it like, I'm trying to put myself as a square peg into this round hole and it's just not fitting. And that's okay too. But how long are you going to continue to do that and feel grinded down is all up to you. It's your choice. And mindset is about choice, ultimately.
It is. And that, again, the secret sauce, right? It's the secret sauce. So, what advice would you give someone who might be listening and is hesitant or unsure about taking the next step towards that personal growth in mindset transformation?
Don't try to eat the elephant all at once. Take everything one bite at a time. And so it's really just, what is something small that you can do? One small change can have. If that's the language that you use, sometimes just being consciously aware of how you're speaking is just even paying attention to that, not being critical of yourself, just being curious. How am I talking throughout the day? What are the words I'm using? Or if you just want to take a step back and look at your calendar. How much of this do I have control over? And where can I say no because I'm feeling overwhelmed or I have too much on my plate? And starting from those little small spaces versus trying to be like, now you're Buddha on the mountain and you're all like, and everything is there. It's just these little small habit changes, these little small awareness.
I always say baby steps, get you there. Absolutely. Oh, I could talk to you for all day. I love, because we're just in the same realm, and yeah, I love it. So, listeners, I hope you found my discussion with Heather both enlightening and inspiring. I know I did. But before we sign off, let's have a bit of fun. I don't know if you know about this, Heather, but I love to play a game with my guests called This or That. What I'll do is I would love to ask you just a series of just some fun, quick fire questions, and you just get to choose between two options. Are you up for that?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, let's go. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Morning person or night owl?
Morning.
Beach vacation or mountain retreat?
Yes.
You got to pick one.
Oh, okay. Well, since I'm going to the Oregon coast next month, I'll say beach.
Reading a book or listening to a podcast?
Oh, reading a book.
Home cooked meal or dining out?
Home cooked meal.
Yoga or meditation?
Meditation.
Sunrise or sunset?
That's another yes one for me. I'll go with sunsets.
Singing in the shower or dancing in the rain?
Oh, dancing in the rain.
Super speed or being invisible as a superpower?
To be invisible, that could be really fun.
Okay. And giant spoon or a giant fork as your eating utensil?
I'm going to go with that giant fork.
All right. Thank you, Heather, for playing along. Oh, I love it. Can you let our listeners know where they can get more information about your programs?
Absolutely. The name of my business is Powered by You Coaching, and you can find me at poweredbyyou.com, which is powered XYOU. And you can also find me on Instagram at Powered by You and on LinkedIn at Powered by You.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you. And a special treat today for you listeners. This week, you can go to my website, www.life-wire.net, to receive this week's toolkit, or of course in the show notes below. This week's toolkit will feature Heather's blog titled The Shift in Corporate World That Will Save the World. And listeners, don't miss out on this valuable toolkit. I know you're going to love it. Heather, it has been a pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your insights.
Thank you so much for having me, Tina. It's been so fun. I can't wait for us to do this again.
Yes, we will definitely collaborate too in the future, I'm sure. So awesome. Thank you, listeners, for joining us on this episode of the Harmony Blueprint, Disrupting the Grind. I hope you found today's discussion insightful and empowering. Remember, our mission is to inspire and change within the corporate world, one episode at a time. But our commitment doesn't stop there. If you're ready to take action and bring positive transformation to your organization, we're here to help. So connect with us to explore how our coaching programs, workshops, and seminars can reshape your corporate culture, boost productivity, and create a harmonious workplace. Again, visit website www.life-wire.net. Check out the show notes for this episode to access additional resources in my toolkit. And there you'll also find some exclusive content and details on some upcoming events that I have. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to the Harmony Blueprint on your favorite podcast platform to ensure you never miss an episode. Thank you all for listening. Together, we're disrupting the grind and paving the path to a more harmonious, successful, and fulfilling corporate world. Thanks again, Heather. Thank you for joining us on this transformative journey with the Harmony Blueprint, Disrupting the Grind. If you enjoyed today's episode and found value in our discussions, we would love to hear from you. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and leave us a review on your favorite platform. Your feedback helps us continue to deliver valuable content to you and others that are seeking personal growth and work-life harmony. Be sure to stay connected with us by visiting our website at www.life-wire.net/Harmony Blueprint. There, you're going to find additional resources, show notes, and exclusive offers to support you on your journey to success and fulfillment.